You know, and then at the same time, they're taking everything from us, you know,
Mm-hmm.
our freedom and our money, you know, that we earn. They take it all as much as they can, just keep chipping away at it, you know, at a rate of complacency where we don't, you know, too much at a time. We're saying, right?
Right.
Yeah, the old stuff was it's funny.
It's hilarious to watch it now, definitely. Back then, though,
Yeah,
it was really cool.
yeah,
So you've so you've gotten to know families, right? Of the Sasquatch around you, do you call them Sasquatch? What do you call them? I mean, do you have a
yeah,
Sasquatch?
yeah. I call them. Yeah, I use that term, you know,
Okay.
respectively, of course.
Yeah.
A lot of people call them Bigfoot. I might say that sometimes, but you know, it's always with respect. I don't
Right.
particularly like that term, but you know, I'll still even use it sometimes. But like I said, always out of respect. Um, yeah, I've always just basically used mostly the term Sasquatch. Some people call them Sabe. A lot of
Sabe.
people. There's a lot of different names, right?
Okay. Yeti. I've heard Yeti up like more north in the
Yeah, that would be, I think, Himalayan
mhm,
mountains out that way. You know, there's China, they get the Yeren,
mm.
um, the snowman, or the Almas or Almasty, Russia, out that way. So different names around the world, Yowie in Australia.
I've heard Yowie. I haven't heard the others, but I guess it just depends on where you are. Yeah. They would have the cultures would have different names for them. So you get to
Yeah,
know the families around you. Is that true? You've gotten to know the families?
well, I've documented Neff's family for a decade now,
Okay.
and yeah, and I've had a lot of physical contact. So when I say they're invisible, it's because I've been physically touched many times at this point. They used to always happen outside, and then one day I just said, "Hey, you guys are always, you know, it always just happens outside. Can you touch me indoors?" So they finally did, and that's happened numerous times too.
Wow.
Outdoors though, once sitting in the chair, I even got, you know, I got this over my face, a very soft, hairy, hopefully hand, you know, hopefully not sticking his
Not,
ass
not
or something.
or his foot
um,
or something. Yeah, right.
um, yeah, so there's been a lot of physical contact to show me the invisible factor. Um,
Wow.
there's been partial manifestations that I got. I've had. Uh, there was a visual that Dwayne and I had through the cottage window one time during the day, probably Neff, standing in the stair, and we had a weird experience where both our minds got wiped, the experience in real time, and we both forgot it, and it came back to us next visit. Um, there's there's a lot of high strangeness that comes with contact. Like I said, you know, they're masters of energy. It's very
Hmm.
paranormal. Um, there's the activity that happens indoors. There's much that happens indoors is out basically. So that shows the dimensional factor. I get things that happen at home. I just had an incident a few days ago. Uh, they tend to they know what we focus on, so they utilize that information to show their presence, and it seems like just endless variety of ways that they show their presence. Um, so sometimes, like I remember, I have a granite table here in the living room, and you know, one morning I got up to go to the bathroom. It's like 5:30 in the morning. Jump back in bed and I fall asleep, and I hear loud knock knock on this table in the living room. I'm just my bedroom's right there in the next one.
Oh,
My
wow.
eyes just went wide, and but I'm cool with it. I'm fine. I realize that's them, right? And I
Hmm.
just went to sleep. So I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not, no fear. There was a lot of fear way back in the beginning for quite some time, but those days are gone. I don't have any fear of them.
So
They've
after,
shown
yeah, after
they're
10
not bad.
years.
Well, yeah, I've been doing it 14 years now, right? I'm
Okay.
in my
Right.
14th year, but a decade documenting Neff's family. And during the 14 years, though, the previous years, I've had experiences in other locations, multiple locations over the years, and now, I have a family showing me presence slowly here at home too. The other night, and I was telling you earlier, I just went through a 7-hour file and wrote, well, I digital file there. I wrote down 55 wood knock incidents, which
Wow.
it was super interesting because they were all different tones, all different. Some were close, some were distant, some were really distant. They were all over the woods, all different tones, all different volumes. And then in the morning, walking to get my audio recorder, there was only one stick crack, and it was a big one, and just like crack, seconds before I reached my recorder, just to see that it's us, which I already knew.
Hmm.
But they confirmed it right at the very last second of that audio file. So they've not a night of wood knocks like that here yet. That was the first time. I've been getting them recently, but not like that. And I've had there's been a, one of the youngsters. You can tell by the footsteps running around, just sound like the size of a 4-year-old. Has run up to my tent while I've been sleeping in it out back, and it sounds like rubbing rocks together fast, then running away. And I've had an adult walk in. I have my audio strapped to a sapling. So I walked in and basically tapped the microphone and then sniffed around, and it's the sniffing that sounds animalistic, and walked in on 2 feet.
Hmm.
So interesting stuff like that.
Hmm.
They keep watch. I'm very watched. That's being shown. We're
Right.
watching you closely, Mike. Yourself. You got no privacy.
Yeah, I imagine that's true. We think we do, but anytime, anywhere, because we're interdimensional and we exist at the same time in different. I mean, there's different dimensions all around us, and all anyone has to do is put their attention on us from other dimensions. It's kind of.
Yeah, I'm slowly trying to learn information about all that, about this reality. And I have some questions next time I make a visit. It's on location that the activity is tenfold in comparison to, by myself, or with Dwayne as well. The two of us get activity, but when we're together, it's so much more. I guess they like us being together.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy to see things picking up here at home.
Nice.
I've just, my fingers are crossed that one of these days I'm going to hear their voice. I'm waiting to hear their voice out back here, and they have let their voice be heard. I just didn't hear it, but it was witnessed by a landlord of mine. Um, he witnessed 2 vocal incidents. One was about 4:30 in the morning. The other was about 5 a.m. and right here in the backyard. And then a girlfriend his had witnessed basically a wolf howl here in the backyard, and that, Neff family showed me they do that. 'Cause we were
Oh.
there. We were there one weekend. It was middle of the day, and we're sitting in the living room, Dwayne and I, and suddenly this just massive wolf howl right outside the cottage wall, sounded. It was inside. It was so loud, and that was basically them them showing that this is us, we do this, because I've recorded it a few times where it's really loud and really close, and like, is that a wolf or is that them? Trying to figure it out. Now I know it's them. So that's even happened right here too.
Oh, cool. So they can mimic animal sounds then.
Oh yeah.
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 That makes sense because they're out there with them.
There's a lot of weird stuff that comes with sounds too with them. So I don't know how they do it, or even with the woodbox, I don't know if they're banging a tree or not. Or
yeah.
One time we were up there at Dwayne's cottage, and we pulled up to an area on a snowmobile, and there was no other snow going in the area. And it was pretty quiet. Certain time of the year, there's not much action going on up there. So we pulled up snowmobile, shut the engine off. We're standing there, and suddenly we hear from close by, hear 2 revs of a snowmobile engine, and there's no running, just 2 revs, and that was it. So there was no like motor, running with this revs. Yeah, it was just we shut the thing off, and then shortly after we hear. So I don't know how they did that. It's just crazy stuff.
So I want to play another one of your audios here. Let me see here if you could describe it. I've got July 5th, 2 voices.
Sure. Yeah, that's it's an older male and a young female speaking simultaneously. They're speaking language, and they're basically speaking over top of each other because they can easily, I'm sure, understand what each other is saying while talking over top of each other.
Okay. All right. So let me pull it up here. Could you hear that?
Oh yeah, loud and clear. Do you want to do that again?
Yeah. There's another voice in the background, isn't there?
There's 2 voices there, yeah.
2 voices. Okay, so there's the lower guttural sound voice, and then another voice in the background. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe it's a young female speaking.
Okay. Oh, right. That's what it sounds like. Okay, I'm gonna play it again. Wow.
Yeah, there's some really weird sounds going on there with I don't know if that's his throat, at the end that's a rock, just that last little sound at the very end, that's a rock.
Okay.
But there's some really crazy sounds, with his voice there.
That it so the female voice, it sounds like she's talking really fast to me. What it sounded like to me. Did it sound like that to you?
I don't know if she's really fast, but she's talking language.
Yeah.
They're definitely speaking language.
So it's a higher pitch than his, a lot higher pitch than his.
Yeah.
And it just sounds to me it's whatever she's saying sounds to me like it's coming out faster, but
like I tell people sometimes because I've recorded the voices from the young a couple times, and I say if you talk to one of their children on the phone, you wouldn't know the difference between them and us. You would just think it's one of us. Because their lung capacity hasn't they haven't grown yet, right? They're still
Right.
within our human range.
Right. They're not forming words like a child isn't forming language. Is that
Or
what you mean?
no, I mean
Oh,
they're the capacity. They're still our size. They're not
oh,
huge where their chest cavities are massive. So some of the large males, you'll even get a metallic sound from chest because their chests are so huge.
oh, I see. Okay. Oh, wow. That
And
that
yeah,
makes
the
sense. Yeah.
youngsters, yeah, the kids, they're still, and they're still little kids. They sound just like us.
That's so cool. That's so cool. So has Neff shared with you, does he have a mate? Do do you know anything about that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think so, but I don't know. Uh, I do know his age. So this year he would be 27 years old. His little sister is 13 this year. So when this started, he was 17 years old and she was 4. Um, I think it was last year I asked his age. They wrote it down for me. And then at first they wrote 48 and then they rubbed it out using the chalkboard and they rubbed it out and they wrote 25.
Oh,
And was that last year or the year before? Um, it showed me that their time is not like ours, linear.
right.
They're on a whole other different understanding of space time.
Right. Yeah, because we're the ones who are stuck in our time, linear time.
The way they can move in and out, at this point, I question absolutely everything. I What we've been taught,
Right.
so I'm even at the point where I'm questioning: are we in a simulation? I just watched a movie the other night, so wondering about this. So this is my next question to them. Are we in a computer generated simulation, basically something like that? Maybe that
Totally.
they know this and they're able to move in and out of it.
Hmm.
Because they understand how it all works, right? So, I don't know. It's a legit question to ask,
Yeah.
just to see what they say if I get a response, right?
Well, I had an experience where I saw the grid in a grocery store. No drugs, no alcohol, nothing like that. I was meditating a lot about 20 years ago, and I'm in a grocery store in San Antonio, Texas, HEB grocery store, and everything just disappears. It lasted about 3 seconds, and I see the blue and white grid lines.
Wow.
Everything just disappeared, and that's what I see. All around me is a grid. And I'm like, okay, well, what do I do with this? Yeah, at that time I was going through what I call a quickening, what my guys call a quickening, but I didn't have anybody I could talk to about it until I finally, like 15 years later, was able to talk to somebody about it. And they actually shared their experience with me where they said they saw the grid. I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody else actually saw it. So it doesn't surprise me at all what you're saying might be, have some truth to it.
I had an experience years back, but I was on drugs. So I actually tried salvia divinorum.
Mhm.
It was legal. It was actually legal back then. And I had bought a cutting. I didn't want, I could have gone into one of the head shops and bought the stuff, but
Sure.
I wanted the plant, right? So I actually got a cutting through eBay at the time, from, I think it was Alberta or something. So I grew this basically of the sage family,
Mhm.
part of the sage family. So I grew this plant, kicking myself for letting it go, but I grew this plant and it's just leaf, like sage leaves, and it's supposed to be one of the most, if not the most potent hallucinogenic plant known,
Mm.
from what I red. So I wanted to try it, and I grew the plant and dried some leaves, and it's not something that is addicting at all. Like I had I had the plant, I think for it was over a year, and I just ended up letting it go. I don't know why. I'm kicking myself because now it's illegal. Um, and in that year, I only tried it once because it was that intense.
Yeah.
And so I took a lungful of this stuff, hold it in as long as you can, and that's it. It's short, it's I think about 10 minutes, and it kind of put me over the top for a bit, where it's kind of freaks you out, but then you get to a point where you kind of level off.
Hmm.
And I remember I could see the veil. I could see a veil between dimensions, and it's like something that has shown up in photographs that I've gotten from Nest family. So I actually
Oh.
saw this, while having this experience. And then I remember seeing this tear in this veil, and I could see this reality on the other side of it. And that was when I was like, oh, okay, good, everything's cool. And I've actually never told that story before.
Oh,
So
well, thank you. I'm honored.
yeah, that was well, when you had mentioned that, I thought, what the hell, right?
What the hell? Yeah. I
Yeah, hey,
no, I
we've
appreciate
all
that.
we've all done stuff like that in our lives at some point or another. Well, maybe not all of us, but many of us have.
Yeah, I've
Um,
done my share of plant ceremonies and drugs and partying. I did mushrooms when I was in my partying days, and I was like, oh, all I did was laugh. I loved it because, as you can tell, I love to laugh, and I just laugh, laugh, laugh. Had a good time, and then I uh, last, I guess 3 years ago, I think it was, I met a woman who's a shaman and asked me if I wanted to do, and there was a small group of us that would meet for table tipping and paranormal stuff. And so she's also a shaman, so she wanted to know if I wanted to do a psilocybin ceremony. I'm like, sure, it'll be fun. I'll just laugh. Whew, no, there was no laughing. It was, like you said, over the top kind of thing for me. And I also, and during that ceremony, I did two with them, but I could write a book just on that experience, each experience. And I saw the grid line. Well, they weren't grid lines then. It was just beautiful weaving of grid lines, I guess you could say. But I don't even know how to explain it. A grid. I saw my personal grid, which is gorgeous, and I could see my breath moving in and out as I could see my matrix, not my physical being, but my matrix. And I saw the grid of the room. We went outside, we could see the grid of the neighborhood, and it was just the most gorgeous thing. Once I was out of that freaking out mode, it was still pretty intense though.
yeah, I've done my share of that stuff too in my life, and it's hard on me. It's difficult, but I'm well aware of the experience of that stuff as well.
Yeah,
and
I
I've
don't.
asked
I'm not up for that kind of stuff anymore. I'll stick to my meditations and that kind of connection.
Yeah, well, they've legalized weed here now. I dabble a little bit. It's not very much, but a little bit. It's fun to grow.
Yeah, it's legal here too in Oregon. I'm out of that because of my work. I don't I don't do anything.
I actually learned something about psilocybin for myself. I have allergies. I have a couple cats and I'm allergic to them. have other allergies as well, and learned microdosing when I have an allergy attack actually.
Oh,
So I
that's
just
good to know.
tried it one time. Yeah, I tried it one time, and it killed my allergy attack, and I was like, wow.
Yeah. Wow,
So
that's
sometimes I'll keep some on me, and I actually we were at Dwayne's cottage one time, and I had some with me. I just carry it just in case allergy attack,
mhm.
and it disappeared. And I'm pretty sure the young guy took it that night, and I recorded him yelling his head off in the morning, and I had asked them, what I wanted to see how they felt about that sort of thing, about mushrooms, and I said, our magic mushrooms bad? And they wrote no. So I wouldn't think they would say yes. It's of the earth, right?
Right, right.
So,
Yeah.
but I think that young Mushka guy, I think he took them. Pretty sure he did.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine anything of the earth is not bad unless what's bad, I would imagine, is abusing it and not,
Yeah, using.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the difference for sure. Nice conversation. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, I don't normally open up very much about that sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I mean, it's all good. And, Oregon is, I think, one of the first states, I'm not sure if the first, that is moving towards legalizing psilocybin, at least if they haven't already. I know I voted on it, to use for depression and things like that in a clinical kind of setting. At least it's moving toward that area, because I understand it helps with depression,
Oh, I know.
anxiety.
I've actually I've bought some stock shares
Oh,
in
okay.
that stuff, just waiting for it to get the go ahead. That's where we're going.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
companies in development of this stuff, and doing their whatever they got to do, and sooner or later it's going to be something used for mental health issues, and
There you go. Yeah, I
and
did
there's
too.
going to be a lot of that stuff going around, regarding all this whatever
Yeah.
post-COVID stuff too, right?
Yeah, it
So
needs to happen. It's about time. I mean, big pharma needs to go out the door. I mean, it's time for us to, and I know I don't know, but
I asked Neff's family about does frequency vibration kill cancer cells, and they said yes, which would validate Royal Raymond Rife, who almost a century ago built the Rife machine to kill cancer, and
okay.
the government jumped on them,
Yeah.
quashed that, and anybody I had read, anybody basically that was promoting that at the time, you would have been put in prison. So yeah, big farm jumped on top, and they had that figured out basically almost a century ago.
Oh yeah.
And I know now, like, you can look up and purchase Rife machines. So
Rife machine, RIFE.
yeah, RIFE. There's different, I guess different costs. Some much more intense than others.
Right.
And basically, it's different frequencies for different healings.
Well, that makes total sense. I mean,
And
it's just like the med beds that are, and things like that are supposed to be coming our way, that the elites, I'm sure, have been using for a long time. And so you asked Neff about frequency for healing. Is that what you said?
I basically specifically asked about does frequency vibration kill cancer cells?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That was my question, and they responded yes.
Yes. I love that.
I get these thoughts sometimes, and it's like, oh, okay, I gotta ask them the question. I don't always get an answer to my questions, sometimes I even have to reword things, and then they do like I had asked, how long do your people live in human years, and they didn't respond, and I changed my wording. I said, do your people live longer than 200 human years? And yes. And
That's
then
good.
I tried to elaborate on that a bit. I wrote, do your people live longer than 500 years? They didn't respond, so I dropped it. I said, do they live longer than 300 years? They didn't respond, so I just left it at that. So I got, they lived longer than 200 human years. And I don't know how long it could be, maybe 1,000 years. I don't know. I'm sure they all live different than that, but
Right.
from what they stated, longer than 200 years anyways.
Right. And from what I understand, we used to live a lot longer too. And we've been, because of everything we've dealt with in our environment and in our food and in, everything that's come our way, how shortens our life.
Yeah, everything's poison at that point. The air, the water, the soil, the food, and it's all being done on purpose.
Exactly. I hear you, brother.
I'm wide awake. I'm wide awake.
I knew that. Yeah, I've seen some of your videos. I enjoyed the one with was it the tinfoil hat guy, where you spoke your mind about some things about what's going on. I'm like, yes, I really like this guy.
Oh, I asked them about the whole virus thing going on, made by bad humans, that basically want to wipe us out much, and them. They want them gone too. They're a threat, because an expanded consciousness, you can't control that. Right. Somebody like that, you can't control me. I've been like that my whole life though, so right from day one.
Good. Good for you. Yeah, totally.
I stay in school. I didn't finish school at all. I didn't finish high school, and I didn't need to, and I find you can have somebody with degrees up the yin yang, and they can still be and unaware. It's those degrees that make you more intelligent, from what I'm finding. It's not always the case, of course, but you don't need to have degrees to be an intelligent human being.
Totally.
And it's just as long as you're awake and aware, and you can see a system, what they've been shoving down our throats and stuffing us inside that little box, right?
Yeah, and thinking that the American dream is the way we're supposed to live. Go to school, get indoctrinated, have 2.5 kids, get married, have 2.5 kids, get a mortgage, and pay on that the rest of your life, get a job where you're working to make someone else rich, send your kids to college, give all that cycle, and
feeding machine.
Yeah.
Feeding totally. A monster. Yeah. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
I don't want any part of it anymore. And then at the same time, they're taking everything from us, our freedom and our money, that we earn. They take it all, as much as they can, just keep chipping away at it, at a rate of complacency where we don't, too much at a time, we're thing, right?
Right. Yeah.
They got it all figured out, their little system.
It's coming,
but it's
down,
crumbling.
Though. It's coming down.
Crumbling. Yeah.
That matrix is coming down.
This is why I do what I do, because it goes against this system. Right. It expands human consciousness. It shows people there's much more to reality than what we've been led to believe, and this is why I put my experiences out there.
Well, thank you. We need more like you, definitely. I'm going to play this other audio you sent. Okay.
Yeah, that's May 10th, 2013. It's a distant vocal, but it's one of my favorites. It's short but sweet. It's one of Ness family. Just yeah,
Okay.
it's a great little piece.
Okay. Wow, I'm gonna play that again. It almost sounds like they're singing. Maybe
They
one
are
more
very
time.
musical.
Oh, good. That's so cool.
Yeah, they've been extremely generous in giving me their vocals because they know exactly what I'm doing and what I'm doing with them.
Right.
They know I'm sharing this stuff and putting it out there, and um, so I'm very grateful for all they've given me, and they continue to give.
Yeah. There's obviously a kinship there, and that's really amazing. They trust you, and sounds like they are all heart.
Yeah, yeah, they're very evolved. The epitome of don't judge a book by its cover.
Hmm.
Their consciousness is, if we use, just say, if we use 10% of our brain, they use it all
Wow.
fully, and their heads are much bigger, much more brain power it is.
Well, I could talk to you for a very long time, but I know you have things to do. I really, really thank you for talking to me today, Mike.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks,
Yeah.
Sharon.
Do you have any, before we close, do you have any suggestions to people, to the my audience, that on maybe how they can forge a connection with Sasquatch if they want, with the hairy people?
Sure. It, well, first of all, my YouTube channel, Sasquatch Ontario,
Yes.
and they're just chock full of information. Everything you really need to know, I talk about there, and there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of information there. And SasquatchOntario.com, I have a website there as well. You can look that up.
And I'll have all that down in the
Anybody,
details too.
what's that?
I'll have all your information down in the details too.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
And put your intention out that you connect to them, connect with nature. Go for hikes in the woods, and you don't have to go into the middle of nowhere at all. Find a local patch of forest. If you see structures like look like they're man-made, even right at the trail, right next to a trail, that's a good indication of their presence in the area. And like I said, put your intention out, respect nature. You don't have to go around hooting and hollering and banging on trees and making a big racket. They know who's looking for them, and you can always bring a gift for them. Try meditation. I've found too, like numerous people have told me they've had experiences just after, like, focusing on Neff's vocals and really listening to those, and putting that energy into that.
Nice.
It seems that they are watching, people watching that stuff. And, I've had contact with certain folks that suddenly started having activity as well. I had a gentleman from Montreal that I've been dealing with, who's was helping with some audio stuff, with some analysis, and he has a cottage out in Quebec, and he told me he was making a visit, and I told him after the end of our conversation, I said, just start pay close attention next time you go there. And sure enough, when he was there, things start happening. So he's now had vocals, footprints, wood knocks and rock clacks, and just and numerous other things. Even a pen, that you write with. When he was back home in Montreal, and he was telling his wife about this stuff, they're standing in their kitchen, and he had just finished telling her about where I'm having marbles appear out of thin air. And suddenly it happened behind his back. So she witnessed it over his shoulder. A pen appeared from thin air and dropped to the floor. She flipped out. So yeah, they are listening, watching. They're capable of incredible stuff. They can visit us in our homes, and they show their presence in ways that, like I said before, they know what we focus on. Even if you're a slap on your wall or something, a bang on the wall, they do like to slap walls. I haven't had that happen here, but I remember it's happened at the cottage and stuff. I know other people that it's happened to. They might have their presence, and you could be looking for something and have checked a certain spot a couple times or a few times, and it's not there, and then suddenly it's there, and you're wondering how the cat got there, or
Wow.
Little things like that. They're astounding abilities. So just keep an open mind, and like I said, connect to nature, and never know what could happen.
Right. Thank you. That's amazing. Yeah, it's time that we realize that they are a gentle people.
Yeah, and they're
amazing.
They're quite boisterous. So some people misunderstand some of their behavior, some of their antics. Yelling like a crazy person doesn't necessarily mean anything malevolent at all. It's just how they're boisterous. Or a rock tossed towards you that lands at your something, that just might mean that they're standing right there in front of you. They're not throwing it from out in the woods. It could be coming from just a few feet away. And if they want you to leave, they can make you leave without you even knowing what's going on. So if they want you gone, they'll let you know. In a way
smell? I've heard about smells.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean anything negative. Not necessarily. It could just be showing their presence. And they turn smell on and off. They gave us that experience, and it was recent. It happened indoor too. So
indoors,
where they were giving us some pretty smelly smells. and it was directed individually. So Dwayne's sitting right there at the end of the table, and I'm getting this waft of dog crap up my nose, and he can't smell it. And then suddenly they're doing it to him, and I can't smell it.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then it changed to, I don't know, sheep or horse manure smell or something, and I believe again that was the young guy who I was mentioning earlier, Mr.
Mr. Funny Man too, Mushka.
Yeah, he's I actually what was it last year? He had left a track in the snow out front of the cottage, and the big guy had left a single footprint. It's one of those subscription videos, and he had so the big guy left shown his single print, which was now 21 inches. It used to be 20, and one guy had left his tray. So I estimate him, like I said, 14, 15. So I was documenting his trackway. I can't remember how many prints. All the prints that I've documented, which are hundreds in snow at that cottage from multiple family members, all of them go nowhere. So I was documenting this trackway, and suddenly he hit me with a snowball. I got pinged off with a snowball, and I was running my video camera when it happened, and I actually captured his vocalization right beside me. He basically was laughing, give a small little chuckle, weird kind of laugh right beside me. And when I play back the audio, it's like, yeah, that was. He was just, laughing at my reaction.
Right.
With the snowball.
Like a big kid. So before we close, I just wanted to say one thing. Before we started recording, you had mentioned that it was rare for us to be able to see them.
In my
your
situation,
okay.
In a situation with like ongoing contact, and it doesn't necessarily mean everybody's like that. Some people do get visuals. I just don't think it's very often. It's very something that very periodic. Personally, like I've documented Neff's family for a decade now. I've had so much physical contact, and I've gotten partial. I've been tapped on the shoulder, spin my head around, and I see a dark shadow dissipate. It's gone. It's there, and it's gone in a flash.
Yeah.
Or I've stood there, and Dwayne's been sitting in a chair, and he said, I've had a massive shadow appear, like standing directly behind me, and then I've gotten a poke in the side at the same time. So then, partial manifestations. There's been manifestations too that have happened. I remember his dad, who's now passed, Bill. That's one of the reasons why I was called in there, because he had a full sighting outside the window one morning. So they are flesh and blood. They are just masters of energy. So they have a body, as we do. They just understand energy at a level that is
right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right, my pleasure, Sharon.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. And thank you everyone for watching. I'm sure that you had as much fun with this chat as I did. And please do all that YouTube stuff. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on our conversation and share maybe some of your experiences in the comments. And see you next time.
All right. Take care.